Hello and thank you for watching TV20 Cleveland. I'm Dan Monroe. Today we're giving you an update on the Southeast Side Initiative. Joining me right now is Marvin Owens Jr. You're the Chief Strategist for the Southeast Side for the City of Cleveland. Marvin, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
We spoke about 3 months ago about the Southeast Side Initiative, or also known as the Southeast Side Promise. I'll give an overview of what that is all about for those who don't remember.
Well, the mayor made the Southeast Side a high priority. Given the decades of disinvestment that's happened over the last two administrations at least, the Southeast Side really needed a lot of effort and work in terms of investing in housing, investing in commercial redevelopment, investing really in changing the narrative that exists on the Southeast Side. And so the mayor made it a top priority and decided to establish my role as Southeast Side Senior Strategist to oversee it. And really what it is a citywide effort to really bring all of the city resources to bear on this part of the city of Cleveland, which means blight removal, it means code enforcement, it means housing repair and rehab, it means commercial corridor revitalization, and of course, larger catalytic redevelopment.
Well, last we spoke, you mentioned we talked about $15 million in ARPA funds being used for this initiative for 3 major blocks. And let's talk about those individually. The first one was repairing and rehabbing homes. I know it's kind of winter outside, but how is that going along with the rehab? And have you found any partners to help out with that?
Absolutely. We've had exciting conversations with existing partners with the city of Cleveland, and some of those folks have come to the table. And so we're excited to be able to announce the rehab program beginning in the spring of this year. These are folks that have been doing great work around the city, including Cleveland Housing Network, Community Housing Solutions, Habitat for Humanity, a number of local partners that have come to the table to help the city in terms of the repair and rehab work. We're expecting to kind of launch in the spring, given the weather right now. Not a whole lot of repair and rehab work is getting done right now. However, we do anticipate a lot of momentum this spring in terms of getting started. We're also excited about the fact that this is going to be an opportunity to really help residents to begin to address some of the issues they've been wanting to address. So as an example, we get calls all the time from folks on the Southeast Side, particularly elderly folks who are looking to try to fix their homes. They can't manage stairs anymore. They have trouble getting in and out of the bathrooms in terms of how the bathrooms are set up. So this funding is really going to help meet some really important needs that existed on the Southeast Side, not only for the elderly, but also for day-to-day residents who own their homes and who are looking for an opportunity to help repair the houses that they own. It's also an opportunity for us as a city to be able to understand what the real needs are. One of the problems that we've had over the course of the last 2 administrations is being able to really assess what's happening in terms of the neighborhoods in Cleveland. The Building and Housing Department has done a great job of grading real estate in the city. So we've got now a real database to figure out who needs help and who's gotten help in the past. So we're excited. We'll get launched in the spring, and we're excited about that.
So 2 big avenues of input, one from building and housing, but the biggest one probably from the folks who live there, the folks who have the houses that are just falling in disrepair. So there's a lot of ways that people can get in touch with you then, huh?
That's right. Well, so what will happen is that people will directly access this funding through our partners. So as an example, Cleveland Housing Network will be the front door to the process. And so people will be able to go to the Cleveland Housing Network site or go directly to the Cleveland Housing Network and be able to access the funding. We're also working with our partner community development corporations, the CDCs that are on the ground there. So Union Miles Development Corporation is very actively involved in this, as well as Harvard Community Services Center, which are 2 major institutions that have been on the ground for decades and really already doing work in these communities. So these groups will help us to be able to get the message out to the residents and also engage the residents who are interested in accessing the funding to repair their houses.
The other arm we're talking about, if you will, with the ARPA funds is the commercial corridor. This is something I'm very interested in because redevelopment is nothing without good commercial investment, good businesses coming in Talk about where that stands today.
We're excited about that because that's already gotten off the ground. So Cleveland Neighborhood Progress has been the major partner who's been helping the city to kind of administer this program. Right now, there are about 60 businesses that have already gotten into the pipeline to access this funding. And so this funding is going to cover a number of bases. Storefront renovations, which means being able to really go in and renovate an existing storefront. We call it white boxing. So white boxing means that we'll be able to go in and prepare a storefront for a new tenant, which is something that needs to happen all along Lee Road, all along Kinsman, all along 131st Street and 93rd Street, 116th Street. These major corridors, their businesses are now being accessed that funding. Public realm grants, which means that these small businesses will be able to access funding to do parklets and new signage and be able to kind of expand to do maybe outdoor patios. I mean, that the kind of things that help to enhance the look and feel of these spaces. There'll be some acquisition money so that people who will be able to kind of access to be able to purchase a property that may be on the commercial corridor. We have a lot of buildings on the commercial corridors on the southeast side where there are people who are just sitting there and holding the properties and nothing's happening. We want to change that narrative and change that dynamic by engaging folks who really want to get something going to be able to access funding, to buy a building, to be able to get it online and be able to make sure that it's ready for a tenant, ready for a small business to move in. Like I said, there are about 60 businesses that are already in the pipeline. We hope to be able to announce some awards very soon. But the reality is this process is already kind of out of the gate and running. There'll be other opportunities coming down the pike we're anticipating because the next bucket besides housing, home repair and commercial corridor is the catalytic redevelopment work, which is really focused around large-scale projects. And the biggest of those projects is the JFK site. So that we're excited about the fact that both a planning study and a market study have just been completed. So we're excited about the opportunity to kind of create some ideas around what can be built there. And so the neighborhood and community have been very actively involved. We had 4 major meetings where neighborhood residents and the community came out in numbers and began to really communicate what they wanted to see on these sites. And so we're excited that we're kind of come to the table with a plan that reflects all that community engagement.
And with that, you mentioned a couple times small businesses. Talk about the importance of entrepreneurs and small businesses to really making this commercial part of it happen.
Yeah, it's really important. The city has actually made entrepreneurship a major priority. And I think that has happened not only with the role that I play, but there's a first ever entrepreneur in residence position that's within the city of Cleveland. Roz Hassan, who's that entrepreneur in residence, is working directly with entrepreneurs to make sure they know how to navigate City Hall, how to make sure they're able to access funding opportunities, access to capital, access to contracts. All of that is happening through Roz, and I think it's important to point out that a lot of entrepreneurs just don't know how to access some of these services that the city provides. And it's really important to know how to do that. So he's had a couple of sort of opportunities for entrepreneurs to come to City Hall and kind of tour City Hall and say, oh, here's where planning is. Here's where building and housing is. Here's how you get your permit. Kind of walking through the processes that will enable an entrepreneur to take their idea to actually implementation. A lot of entrepreneurs have great concepts and great ideas, but they need help in order to kind of move that idea into a place of fruition. So first time ever, a role that's doing that within the city of Cleveland. So we're excited about the results, what we're going to see in that.
I think that's fantastic because a lot of times in a lot of places, entrepreneurs, people who are just coming up with an idea, don't have that help from a larger entity to move them forward. And a lot of times nothing happens with them. But this seems like everything is right there for these people to go out and just be as successful as possible thanks to help part to the city of Cleveland.
And there's also the opportunity for partners that have come to the table to really engage these new entrepreneurs. So there's some great ideas, great concepts, But you do have an opportunity for even our local lending institutions. The banks have come to the table and said we're interested in kind of figuring out how to play. So I think the mayor has kind of created this momentum around this work. And I said this before when I was here last time, that we're hoping that not only the lessons learned on the southeast side will be able to take and be applicable to other parts of the city. That if we get this right, and we think we will get this right, we'll be able to apply this to Glenville and to West Side neighborhoods and all over the city. Because as this happens on the southeast side, this will have an effect on the entire city of Cleveland. We believe that we're going to get something started here that really, the city will see the results of this overall.
I was thinking about that too. When you see redevelopment, when you see new businesses, when you see new opportunities, it kind of instills a sense of pride as you walk through the streets of your neighborhood that can be almost infectious. Absolutely. And I think also the fact is there are a number of other pieces that are being rolled out. You'll hear more about the planning department coming out with the changes in how the planning codes are laid out. So they'll be moving to what's called FormBased Code. What that means is we'll be moving to a process where there'll be an opportunity for local businesses to be able to establish themselves in our communities. What we have a lot in Cleveland is you have these large sort of retail chains that have been able to put up little outlets here and there. The reality is, if we want to create real economic development, we have to give small businesses and local business owners the opportunity to create places for them to set up shop and do business. So this is all part of the idea that we're trying to create momentum around the fact that we want to grow Cleveland, if that makes sense, and really do it in a way so that that local residents, local business owners, local entrepreneurs are able to to see the benefit of this. Instead of having just a lot of out-of-town investment, let's make sure that we're taking care of the folks who've been here and have invested a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in the city of Cleveland. Absolutely. Let's talk about that, excuse me, the third arm, like you just said, the Catalytic Projects, specifically the JFK redevelopment site. How's that moving along? It's
going great. We'll be able to go to the Planning Commission probably in the next month or so with a plan. There should be a request for proposals. An RFP probably should go out before the summertime in terms of choosing a developer for that site. But that's not the only site. We also have the former Gracemont Elementary School site on Glendale on the southeast side, where a plan had been put in place to develop new single-family houses as well as new green space on that site. So the JFK site will have commercial redevelopment. There'll be housing, both townhouses, single-family houses, senior houses. Be a lot of good stuff happening there, and it will in fact impact that whole area. I think it's going to be a big change in terms of what that area feels like and looks like. So we're excited about that. It should be getting off the ground pretty soon. We're also looking to make sure that we're working with as many local businesses in the RFP process as possible. We did an expression of interest months ago, and it was the response was overwhelming in terms of local business owners, local operators who want to participate in some way in that redevelopment process. And so we're excited about being able to kind of give local businesses the opportunity to play. So it should be fun.
And you said something there that kind of piqued my interest, green space. You can have the buildings, you can have the beautiful things here, but it's also going to balance out just a park or a place to go out and have a picnic with a family or something like that. So green space is crucial too.
Every project, every design offered in these planning processes have included green space. It is a key priority for the residents. It's a key priority for anyone who lives here in Cleveland. We kind of like being outside. We like the outdoors, and the reality is that the residents in the Lee Harvard area have made it very clear that green space is a priority.
When we last spoke, we talked about Kinsman, a big Kinsman cleanup. specifically working with Public Works to make that happen. And even with people from the community coming out and sprucing up here and there. How's that going?
That's going great. It's been one of the sort of highlights of the time I've been here in terms of this role to witness this process where when the city made a commitment to clean up a part of to clean up Kinsman, really to kind of spend time and effort and resources on street cleaning and repainting hydrants and repainting curbing and redoing rubbish cans and planting trees and that sort of thing. The residents responded in a powerful way, which is to say that if the city's making that kind of commitment, then we should also step up and do something as well. And so we saw that happening with that cleanup effort, where people have been engaged in the process, but they've also continued it. So now Public Works is also now looking at other parts of the Southeast Side corridors, which includes Lee Road and Harvard and Miles, as the next phase of that cleanup process. It's really, really important that the city take the first step in an area of the city where the narrative has been that disinvestment has happened over these decades. It's really important to send a message to these neighborhoods and communities that the city understands and the city is willing to invest in this effort. And it doesn't take a lot to do that. It really is stuff that should be happening anyway. Replacing lights, upgrading signage, upgrading traffic lights, doing the kinds of things that make these neighborhoods and communities feel more safe and feel better. When you feel better when you see a clean space and you understand that this is where we live. People take pride in where they live, and so it's important that the city respond appropriately.
You know, I'm also thinking of a phrase I've heard a lot in my life. Little things mean a lot. Like you said, cleaning up a fire hydrant, painting this, that. Little things mean a lot. I think this will go a long way, just like you said. Marvin, thank you so much for this update. If people want more information or if they want to give input, where can they go?
They can go to the city's website. We now have a Southeast Side initiative as a part of the city's website, part of the mayor's office initiatives. Please go to that website, and we love to get the comments and the feedback. There's a lot of work that's planned for the springtime, a lot of demolition of vacant buildings and housing that needs to come down, cleaning up areas. You'll see more of this happening in the spring, and the momentum is building, so we're excited about the future.
Come back in several more months for another update, after maybe around the summertime.
Absolutely.
All right, Marvin, thank you so much for joining me. And thank you for watching TV20 Cleveland. We learned a lot about the Southeast Side Initiative, including the Union Miles, Mount Pleasant, Lee, Harvard neighborhoods. It's going to be fantastic. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Dan Monroe. We'll see you next time.